and we're recording. So before I started recording, you were talking about your first day at the extended. You're
Hmm.
doing the extended 16-week program right now. You
Hmm.
were telling me about your experiences with that.
Yes. So today is what, Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
It's it's my third day today. So today we had sprint on testing. So it's very structured. So the repository had 4 questions, and it gradually, so first has more hints.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the first question had like spec file and the JS file, and the spec file had the test,
Yeah.
and you have to write the JS, like the code,
Yeah.
and pass the test. Second question had a spec file, but just a block,
Okay.
just a describe block. So you write the it block, and so just gradually go. So when you go to last one, there was nothing, just 2 files,
Okay.
and there was also no link because in SSP I had no idea why the describe is written. I would just pass the test. I would just do whatever it takes. So I'll ask questions, and I had
Okay.
no. For the first, like it took me 2 days to realize that for test builder,
Yeah.
my first SSP, that I had to download it and then it should be done in Sublime and whatnot. But now, for example, the last one, so it makes you think, what's the connection? How does the browser index or HTML knows there's a Mocha library, or there's a Chai library, or Mocha framework? So it the way the test is designed, the task, the
Mm-hmm.
sprint is designed is, so you find out actually. So in the last one, whatever you do, there was no test on the index.html, or you cannot pass it. So you have to find how is that connected. So you go to HTML and then you find the source file that you don't have to install Mocha, and so you add a link. So yeah, it's way better.
Okay. Yeah. So, can you tell me a little bit about your first week in the on-site immersive? I know we talked a little bit about that in our last conversation, but I'd love to have like a reiteration. You were dropping a lot of knowledge on me about like how the HR experience was, HR San Francisco, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure. Because I wish someone told me, because it's, so you can use this time till the, if anybody's preparing for the June immersive, they can use this time to better prepare, because sometimes the RA or the technical interview cannot can they're not that accurate
Dilsher,
to
I'm really
gauge
sorry.
already.
Can I totally forgot to ask this after we started recording. Would you mind giving a quick introduction, like who you are, what your background is, how you came to HR?
Sure. Hi, I'm Dilsher, and I have started coding February this year. I haven't heard the word coding since last year, till last year, sorry. And I'm like, I'm not the, I don't know, like it's just a common perception that for coding, I hear a lot of people in the introduction, oh, I started coding at 5. Like for me,
Oh, really?
the first time I used the computer, because I grew up in India. I just came here 3 years ago. Computer came in very, very late. I mean, I think in like late 2000s, they were like cheap enough so that you can afford it. So yeah, I was like, I never played a video game in my life. I think I just played like small Temple Run and Snake on mobile phone. So no technical background, but my why is very different.
I mean,
Uh,
you do come from like an engineering background, though, don't
yes, I studied mechanical engineering, and my last, so my I couldn't translate my experience and my credentials here,
you? Hmm.
especially in Bay Area. So my last job, I was working in a car dealership, um, selling BMWs, and I had a lot of customers who were obviously doing well. They were buying BMWs, and they were software engineers. And I asked them, like, you know, I just in a very simple word, that I want to be you. So I learned more about software engineering. And yes, I love problem solving. And my problem is that I want to live a better life. And I'm just trying to solve that by this amazing field. And the more I know, the more I love it. Every day I wake up, like last night I was trying to put my son on sleep, and I was feeling sleep, and I was thinking, and like I was like suddenly I went to dream world, and I was console log. I was making functions in my head. So all I think about is software engineering now. It's amazing, and it's very satisfying. The small victories when you learn something, it works. It's amazing. So yeah, the first week in HR. If anybody is trying to go in the San Francisco campus, the instructors are amazing. So for JavaScript fundamentals, the instructor is Marcus Phillips. He's the co-founder of HR, and the other instructor is Fred. I don't know what exactly his last name is. I mean, I read it, but I didn't pay attention. So
I think it's Zerdung. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's something very, very not common. So yeah, and they are amazing. It's a great culture. They encourage you to ask questions, and and so if you want to know that you're ready, even if you pass the RA, is that if you know how the function works, how the control flow works, I mean, if you done your pre-course work, and if you have spent minimum 15 minutes on a slide, and you have, because on the slides that it's very information dense. So if you are skimming through the slides and you are just passing the test for the pre-course, that's a sign that you're not ready.
Okay.
If you can solve all the pre-course and explain it to someone, then it's a sign. And if you spend at least 30 minutes on every slide and every single line makes sense, I think that also means you're ready. And also, I mean, even after that, I mean, I was way far from being ready. So, but I met so many people there. For me, my personal experience was like I got a better picture what is to be expected, and in the immersive, and where you should at least be on the starting line, because after that it's expected, because one of my co-learner had a 8-year experience as a Java programmer, and who knows, like there could be a co-founder of a company in your batch, and they also realize that, so you don't have to be like everybody. So there's no pace.
Mm-hmm.
But I will strongly suggest that only thing that's expected from you is to know JavaScript.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. What were some of the so from what I've read is that the first week is very lecture intensive, right? What are some of the things that were, because obviously in pre-course they cover a lot of ground. What are some of the new things that they cover? Without going into too specifics, obviously, whatever you can tell me about, what are some of the things that they covered that you would recommend people brush up on a little bit if they want to hit the ground running their first week?
I would say I think I shared with you, I'll also share again, there's a playlist on YouTube by Marcus Phillips.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to shoot it to me in chat, I'll share it in
Find
the
that real quick. Just 1 second. Okay, so Marcus Phillips Cloyers.
And you know what? I think I have it right here. Yes, I do. The JS conference, US 2014. Okay, awesome. I'll be sure to share that on the Slack channels. But yeah, can you tell me a little bit about those YouTube videos?
So yeah, they cover something. I mean, for me, I don't know if someone who has all the bases like very strong might find it like very repetitive, but for me, I was like every single time I was like, oh, mind blown, because
Yeah.
and also and one more thing, I think, because they encourage you to ask questions, so I think you should ask questions. So sometimes, like the normal person, or like, I don't want to ask this stupid basic question, but then it's okay.
Yeah.
If it's too basic and very stupid question, I mean, there's no such thing. But if there's something that very off topic, he will still won't say no. Will say, okay, he, like, for example, after every lecture, there's either lunch or something else, some activity. So there's time, so he will wait and then answer your question.
Okay.
So yeah, so yeah, instructions, they clarify everything. I don't know, what should I think? Because my strategy is like, now I'm in this immersive, that's very, it is, I'll just follow what they are teaching. But I think your 6-week course is very good, because I didn't go to this the immersive being very strong on algorithms and data structures,
Okay.
and also the time complexity. This is something that if you know a bit, it's very easy. Otherwise, you like, maybe because you can panic, you can start panicking, and then it's just like a snowball effect.
By time complexity, you mean like a big O analysis?
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. So are there, so you mentioned outside of pre-course, right? So you mentioned data structures and algorithms. You mentioned big O analysis. And you mentioned brushing up on your JavaScript fundamentals. Is there anything else? I'm sorry to cut you off.
I would just say, like, do the pre-course, like the right way. No one told me was like, is like, for example, the TDD, the test-driven development. This is something is used in industry and also in immersive, but it was also the part of. I still remember vaguely. I heard that term when I was reading the pre-course, but it's not like, no one put more emphasis on it, but it's very important because that's what they do. So you write a test first, it fails, and you start adding the code that passes the test.
Okay. Okay. So you iteratively.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mocha
So
and chai is used extensively, so if you know how that works, I learned that afterwards. So, like, thank God I'm not in immersive. Like, I would have been like, so many things to learn. This testing, Mocha and chai library, just read the documentation, be
right.
comfortable with it, and
Not to cut you off. So can you explain to people what your situation is right now? You went through the first week of Hack Reactor San Francisco immersive, and where are you right now?
So after on Wednesday, I started on Monday. On Wednesday, they had a self-assessment.
Mm-hmm.
I did a self-assessment, and on Thursday, looking at my self-assessment, they gave me two options. Either they'll give me a study plan that I do in my spare time, or I can defer to the next cohort, and then I like, they were supposed to give me something I should study in the meantime. The first option was not better for me because there is no spare time, because just to get by, I mean, just to do the basic requirements, bare minimum requirements, I was staying there at like 11. Well, the last day I had solo work, I was there till 12. So there's no spare time. So I was like, okay, this is something I want to do, and I really believe in the process of Hack Reactor, whatever they're doing, because no wonder they're like the best, because they have like so many checkpoints and they keep checking your progress. And if there's not something, you're deviating, or if you're getting off the rails, so they'll try to put you back. They have strategy. They don't say like, oh no, you're falling behind. Do something. So for me, the other strategy was to defer, but then because Tom was my cohort lead, and he said there's a new program extensive 18-week. So for first 5 weeks, so I have 6 weeks away at that point from immersive. So first 5 weeks, I'll study in a remote environment. So on a Zoom meeting, there's classes. That's what I'm doing now. So 9 to 5, there are classes. It's pretty much like Hack Reactor immersive. So it starts with a kickoff. There's a lecture, and then there is a solo work, and then lunch, and then pairing, and then there's a lecture, and sometimes like on Mondays and Wednesday, I think, or there's some self-assessments, and there's a checkpoint every day.
Okay. You mentioned pairing. Did you get a chance to do a lot of pairing and collaborative work that first week, or?
Yes. So pairing. So they normally, except for the first week, there are 2-day sprints. So you're given a repository. You have to finish the sprint in 2 days. For 2 days, you have the same pair.
Okay.
So after first week, you have new pair every 2 weeks. So you have to finish the sprint. And how the pairing works is like you switch. Like they're given some suggestions. I don't have a document right now because they took the access from me. But it's like called driver and navigating. But it's very similar to what you have in your 6-week course.
So people might not be familiar with my 6-week work. You can talk about it if you want. Just a little background information. I did SSP, so I'm just about finished with the pre-course. That gives me roughly 5.5 weeks to prepare outside of pre-course. So I designed a little 6-week prep course of advanced material. If anyone is interested in watching this, feel free to DM me, and I'll shoot you the link to the GitHub gist. But yeah, I'm sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, so there's like one link that says how to do pair programming, because there's like driver and navigator. So if I'm driver and you are navigator, so I'll just type the code syntax and you just give me ideas, and I'll ask questions. So what will this do? Okay, and why this? And then we both agree and we type, and then we move forward.
Okay.
But on the first week, it was underbar day 1, and then day 2 was
without going into too many specifics. I don't want to get into like any, get anyone into trouble if they want to keep their first week curriculum like but yeah, like generally speaking, I'm assuming you're working with like different library frameworks, that sort of thing.
No, firstly, no. Just the only library we use for like Chai.
Okay.
But not like basic JavaScript.
Basic JavaScript. Okay, got it. Awesome. So did you feel like in terms of the support you were getting, in terms of the mentorship, if you will, from like the instructors, your HUD leader, your cohort mates, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the technical mentor was amazing, John. And I mean, he also gave me some suggestions like how to visualize your code. So when you see a problem, first you write the inputs and outputs, and then the next part is visualization. And there's one more part, but we don't need it right now. It's called justification. It's only when you are in industry, you justify the sponsor that why you're writing this. But right now, justification is like, oh, you asked me to. I want to pass this test. So but then, so you write, and then you diagram, visualize, justification, and then small explanation what this function will do, and then go to pseudocode.
Can we dive into that a little bit? Now, you mentioned input outputs. You mentioned like diagramming. I know in our previous conversation, you kind of went a little bit more in depth about that. I think you mentioned IOC.
IOCE.
IOCE. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, so what Hack Reactor uses is called, I don't remember. So specification, visualization, justification, explanation, and then implementation. So they say like for a developer, writing the code is just like one of the 5 steps. That's the last one. So first, so specification is you specify your input, output, constraints, and sorry,
Edge cases?
no, it's okay. Just read it. So I'll reply later. Priya's asking how's your pair.
Oh, okay.
He is edge cases.
It is edge cases. Okay, awesome. I figured it was
So this is
edge cases or
specification
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you use visualization, so every problem can be made into diagram. So you make a diagram, like for example, let's take a example of let's think. Let me think of an example.
You have a whiteboard? I remember you talking about the whiteboard last time we spoke.
Yeah, I still have it. So in SSP,
there you go.
we never used whiteboard, but now I use it every time.
Okay, awesome. So, would you recommend somebody like when they're on site that they get something like this? Like
yes. So in immersive, you always they'll give you there are 2 whiteboards, one small one for and there's a big one.
Okay.
And then there's a like very big one that's for interview practice. But then till the immersive, you have the small one and the lab size.
Okay. Is there anything else that getting away from the curriculum a little bit? Is there anything that maybe not from an information or knowledge point of view that maybe you were surprised about? Maybe it was the hours. Maybe it was like how oh, I really wish I had packed lunch or something like that. Maybe something that you weren't expecting about the on-site immersive that you feel like people should know.
So yeah, food is one thing because you don't only do lunch there, you do dinner. So
you live there basically.
Yeah. So if you're bringing your food, bring 2 meals because otherwise there's no point.
Okay.
And also, if you're targeting SF, it's in Tenderloin area. So for safety point of view, it's not safe to go out after 10, I would say, to get food. And also, the cohort is divided into 2 groups, 2 cohorts. Sorry, so there's one on 6th floor, and I was on 8th floor.
Okay.
And it's an old building, and the elevator only takes 5 people.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so like I heard stories like sometimes the entire junior phase, like 6 weeks of immersive, they never had the elevator. So imagine if you're going like 8 flights of stair for food, and by the time you go back, you're hungry again. So bring 2 meals.
Okay.
And
bring snacks.
Yes, so every alternate day there's a 2-hour lunch. So there's normally like 1-hour lunch. So alternate day they have 1-hour lunch, and then they have a workout time.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about workout time?
Workout time is like just so you can work out or do something else. I mean, for you, like physical activity. But I think most of the time it's used for office hours, and then you end up basically coding.
Okay. No, I can.
I mean, you once you go there, you realize the energy, everything. You just like, I just want to do this. Even if you have time to do workout, you're like, I'd rather I'm here for 12 weeks to learn to code. So if I have any question, I have tech mentor. I'll rather have an office hour with him, ask questions. So that's the workout time. But and there are all restaurants around places. Most people would go to Subway because that was just right there, and it's like an easy choice. But a few steps down, there's some great restaurants.
Okay, awesome. So
quickly, there's also a service called MealPal.
Yeah, MealPal. A lot of people use the MealPal, but you still have to walk. It's like you order your food.
You do still have to walk, but it's quite cheap. They have like really cheap intro offers. And if you share each other's promo codes, then you can get really nice discounts.
Yeah.
And it's quick too. It's quick pickup. So the food,
Yes.
you order it ahead of time, and then it's ready when you get there. So lots of people. I did not do Meal Pal. I just cooked up a storm on Sundays, and
Yeah, that's what I do.
Peppers,
Yeah.
but
So you were hi Maria.
actually, I'm got a phone call right now. Someone's calling me, so I'm going to take this and mute myself.
Sure, go ahead. So is Maria, was she in the immersive as well?
She is actually our huddle leader, I want to say. So there's a Slack channel for, let me just look it up. Okay, so there's a pre-course Slack channel for people who are going into HRSF 98 and 99, and I think Mariah, I'm sorry, she is kind of helping us along, being a coordinator, possibly a huddle leader. I'm not sure what her official title is, but she kind of just helps us.
Wow, so she's a graduate from HR?
Yeah, she's a recent grad, actually. So yeah, she's a recent grad, and hopefully in the future I can convince her to do one of these Q&As. I'd love to get her take as a recent grad, and because the experiences are still very fresh, and yeah, but that's a future date. Let's see if I can wrangle that. But focusing on you, so so you said data structures, algorithms, big O analysis, on the knowledge end of things, fundamental JavaScript. On the non-information side, you said bring lunch and dinner. Make sure that your cardio is not too bad for those days that the elevator isn't working. Just to round this out, is there anything else that you'd like to add, that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, if your basics are fundamentally strong, because it's a domino effect. So, I mean,
okay.
you just go, it just keeps building up, and then it's just, so when I came back, it's not like I just did a computer science degree. It's just that like my foundation is strong, so I'm more confident. So I'll ask, even if I don't know, even if half of the class doesn't know, I won't ask questions because I will feel, they'll say, how did he get in here? He doesn't even know this. So once you are confident, it's okay. I want to ask this question. I'm here. This is my chance to learn. And then it's different. So for example, in this immersive, unless I'm not clear, so I made a program. If I'm not clear to the last line he said, I will not let him go to the next line.
Oh, so wow.
I'll ask him, I'll stop him, I'll unmute him, because I want to be clear every single line, because, English is not my first language. So that's why if I'm listening to someone, I just listen as I'm reading. So for example, if some people, they use a lot, I'll just also read that as and then he said something. So, I'm processing like that. So I'm listening to the line, and then that makes sense. Okay, yes, then yes. It doesn't. I'll just ask him, stop. Can you stop right here? I don't understand this.
I kind of want to dive into that a little bit more, if you don't mind. I think what you mentioned there is really interesting, because you're coming from the perspective of a non-native English speaker. So English is your second language. And what you just said was that during the lectures or during like Q&As and stuff like that, there's a extra layer of processing that has to go into it. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences? Since English isn't your first language, can you talk a little bit about your experiences?
Yeah, I think in lectures, it was amazing. The flow was amazing. So it's only in the Zoom meeting. So when I'm in SSP, I still remember SSP, there were some lectures, I would just I just get lost. And then, for example, if it's a 2-hour lecture and I got lost at 15 minutes, so for me it's a 15-minute lecture, because after that I don't understand anything, because I'm just playing catch up then.
Yeah.
And just because in HR they encourage you to ask questions, so if I'm stuck, I'll ask them.
Okay, awesome. So what advice would you give for someone from that perspective. If maybe they, because as you said, the information, the way that the curriculum is structured, a lot of it is cumulative, right? So you need what you learned last week or a few days ago in order to kind of move forward, right? You need like a good level of comprehension or understanding to move forward with it. What is a piece of advice you might give to someone who was in your situation where maybe English isn't their first language, there's like a gap in understanding, maybe they blanked out on a part of a lecture and they couldn't understand what came after? What would you say to someone like that?
I think the first thing you should do is to know the basics, so you know you're not asking a very stupid basic question, like very, and the second thing, you need to have confidence that I need to ask this question because I didn't understand this. So before moving forward, I need to stop this and ask what he meant.
Okay.
And second, a third thing, I think if you ask too many questions, they will let you know.
That's good.
Right? So rather they tell you that, oh, you asking too many questions, then you in your head saying, oh, am I asking too many questions? Because I sometimes felt I'm asking too many questions because there's a guy from HR Immersive who is in this extended, and he said, oh yeah, I remember you Slack channel. Like, oh yeah, you were asking a lot of questions. But thing is, he didn't say a lot of questions. He said you asked some good questions, because sometimes it's okay to just ask, raise your hand, they'll give you a mic, and then just say, I understood, so you're saying this. So it's okay. It just took 1 second. So you said this. So you saying that array is an object. For example, he said that.
Right.
So he won't say that, yes, this is just what I just said. Are you dumb or whatever? So he said, yes, this is, you understood, right? So sometimes I think it's a, rather than asking question, just say, because sometimes you say, oh, is array object, that will actually sound stupid because that's what he said just right now. So if you just want to make sure, my suggestion is just to say, just reiterate.
Yeah, reiterate. So try to put it in your own words, reiterate what they're trying to say. Don't be afraid to ask questions. What you just said it's actually like probably one of my biggest issues, and I'm still working through it. It's actually asking questions and reaching out for help. It's something that I have trouble with, where I'm just like, I can figure this out. I can work this out on my own. And rather than reach out for help, maybe I can figure it out on my own. Maybe it takes me an hour and a half, but maybe if I had reached out for help, it would have taken me 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that. And so when you're with the pacing of SSP, or even more so in the immersive, just like you said, I think it's important to reach out for help when you need it. And it's something that I struggle with as well, and I'm trying to work through it myself. So I can totally relate to that. And you said, like, don't be afraid to ask for questions. I think that's really important. I think a lot of people get stuck on I need to get this information. I need to understand this. I need to understand that. And I don't know. I think one of the big things about SSP that kind of drilled it into my head is that, like, this is hard stuff, right? This is difficult. A lot of people are not coming from a technical background. You're going to get stuck. And rather than kind of like trying to bulldoze your way through it, reach out for help. And, if need be, pay it forward later on. Somebody's going to need your help potentially one day, and you can be in that.
Exactly. And also, I think doesn't make any difference how many. So, for example, I failed my driving test 3 times. I got 4th time.
Okay.
But when I drive the car, if I'm driving at 60 miles per hour, I'm as fast as someone who took the first try to pass the test. If the analogy makes sense. So if I become a software engineer, my $1 will be $1, same as your. The exchange rate won't change for me because it took so many tries, ask so many questions. So there is no extra point for being smooth. For example, in my SSP, there was a guy who was like computer graduate, but I mean, he was very knowledgeable, but he was a troll. He would just ask, he was just being, he was used to be, ask stupid, how troll is.
Yeah.
So, but think there is no point for that. If at the end of the day, if I get a job and he gets a job, it's the same thing. Just learn, make sure this. So for me, my personal experience is, for me, it's just my only chance. Not my only chance, but like it's my chance to change my career. Because when I chose mechanical engineer, I was 17 years old in India, pre-internet. I mean, at that time, in 2002, there was nothing, no computer, nothing. So there was no counseling. It's still nothing there. So now I'm making a choice. It's something I really want to do. As I told you, I know where I'm going and I know how to get there, and that is amazing. That is the most powerful thing. Now everything is, the ball is in my court. So, and also attitude and your growth mindset. If you go to the immersive, thinking that I'm just going to learn and get better. My why is very different than everybody else. I have a lot of my co-students who give introduction. I was like, oh, I'm not that, but I'm very confident in myself. I know who I am, and I never judge myself, compare myself. That, oh, I didn't do coding at age 4. I didn't play a lot of games. I don't fit the stereotype. I'll be honest. It's not like I love problem solving, but if you look at bigger picture, yes, I love problem solving because, as I told you, this is a problem I'm solving, not to live as a, broke. So, but yeah, I basically reverse engineered my career. So that's where it was kind of disconnect. But if you ask me, thanks to that 4 days in Hack Reactor, I know where to get, and every day, all the time, I'm thinking about coding.
Okay.
I'll go back. I'll just open REPL, try something. For example, today, like my instructor was saying that, oh, if you put -1, for example, can I share my screen? Or let's start a new meeting.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, because this meeting is about to go off in like 3 minutes. But I think we covered a lot of ground.
I think we're side tracking. So
yeah, I'd love to do this again sometime. Actually, if you're up for it, I'd love to get some feedback from people. Post this video. Is it okay if I share this video?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I feel like a YouTube star now, but
give it some time. We'll make a star of you, Dilsher.
Yeah, but HR process works, and the tech mentors, everybody is amazing. Just ask for help. If you're not, the only disconnect will be you if you're not asking for help.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your experiences
Thanks.
with me and whoever watches this. And I look forward to calling you a colleague soon.
Yeah, sure. I told you, I think I'll be working for you in 5 years.
I don't know about that.
You're so smart.
Well, thanks again, man. Okay.
Goodbye. Bye.
Yes.